will sit no more. What is it?
I don't know. Wait, am I thinking of a different song?
Les Mis.
Oh, I'm thinking of a totally different song. A chair is still a chair. Yeah, that's
There's multiple songs about. Where's that from?
I don't know what that's from. Sitting there. It's from American Idol. That's what it's from for me. Most of the songs I know are from American Idol.
What? No, the Empty Chairs and Empty Tables is, I think, hands down one of the lamer songs in Les Mis.
Is that the one that the young soldier, what's it, Eddie? Is that the one Eddie sings?
Who's the fuck is Eddie?
Eddie Redmayne.
Is this like Napoleon's Dr. Larry? I don't think there's an Eddie in Les Mis.
Oh yeah, and there's Eddie.
Eddie Redmayne. I walked out of that movie, remember?
Oh yeah. Smart move.
I walked out before the introduction of the love interest, who I'm guessing is who we're talking about.
The love interest, yes.
Yeah, whose name
Yeah, what's it, the character?
Oh my god. How can I not know?
Are you really familiar with
Marius.
Yes.
Oh yes, I am.
Okay.
His name is Marius Pontmercy.
Pontmercy?
Yes.
Oh.
I am very familiar. Not as familiar as I am with Into the Woods, but quite familiar. Like I could probably sing 80% of the libretto.
Okay.
80% is not 100.
I don't know where you keep all those lyrics. You're right.
Do you know how many songs I know?
I only know what I hear. It's a lot. And there's a huge variety.
Yeah. I'm more and more surprised. Like I kind of just assume if I haven't heard something in 10 years.
Yeah.
But apparently not. Because there are all these like hip hop songs that I like not grew up, but like that I listened to when I was young, and they're all very much still in my head. Like I can rap along more or less word for word to a freakish number of songs. And it's not like I even try. I'm serious.
It's just there. Long-term memory.
Because if I absorb something, then it's like absorbed.
Yeah.
And clearly this isn't like sides that I do and then they go away and they're not important. They're obviously it's music that I like have cared about and do care about.
Yeah.
So and that's enough, really. Me being that engaged with it is enough for me to retain all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never had that. I don't know why. Maybe nothing. You're just like really engaged. It like really, really means something to you.
I mean, I imagine that other people have similar things to things that mean a lot to them, though.
Or they can remember it vividly? I don't know. I'm just saying, yeah, there's like these people that they know like every stroke of a song, you know? Or even if it gets like really down, are you like that too, where you're like, oh yeah, and then the bass comes in here, and then this like little like drum, like that. Yeah.
I'm not like super. I don't think I'm super technically, but in a felt sense, 100%. I like woods, also.
Right. Yeah.
That sounds stupid to say, but if you, I really like woods. Not everyone likes the same things about stuff, you know? Like, like I am way more into percussion than many people that I come across in maybe not come across now, but like that is one of my more guiding.
Percussion. Like you just like a really good beat.
If it's not happening like down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
then there's got to be something really special else happening. So and then that ends up being like, so, but I do like Dylan and stuff, even though it's not super percussive. But that is because I really like the poetry. But it took me forever to come around to him.
Really?
I booed him.
Huh. Wait.
My parents are
real?
really into this.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Okay, what's the
Yeah,
story?
in real life. We went to see, there was one year that Bob Dylan and Paul Simon were touring together, and I was obviously there to see Paul Simon.
Mhm.
And lest anyone be confused about that, I think I was like pissed off that, no, I wasn't, because he went first. I remember being like, whatever, he's opening for Paul. I don't know what it was. I think I was like very into being contrarian on the one hand.
Yeah.
I also, and this still remains, like, I was like, what? So just sometimes the rules of good singing just go out the window? Like, what is that? Like, why do we all think he can sing? Because he can't. Yeah, I had a very hard time getting over his like voice. I was like, let other people do it.
Can Paul Simon really sing? Can? Okay.
I mean, almost anyone can sing compared to Dylan.
That's true.
But again, obviously, it depends on what you're.
I think it depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm all for people with lousy voices still singing.
Yeah, I'm talking about my high school self.
Yeah, totally.
So the fact that everyone was like so into him, and I still have like little parts of me are like, you know what? He's not greater than Joni Mitchell, and everyone just assumes that he's unparalleled because he's a man. I don't know. There's so there. I have some like resistance sometimes. Like it really, no disrespect to Elvis Presley, but that whole thing kind of drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really hesitant to go for people that everyone like loves to.
Yeah, especially
around.
with that time period. Like, I'm sure
Which
there
time
were
period?
like Dylan.
Mm.
I'm sure there were others who were doing the same thing, maybe better. For whatever reason, they didn't get the attention.
I mean, I think that happened to Joni Mitchell. Like, she got
Yeah.
attention,
Mm-hmm.
but in my opinion, like, her writing is not inferior to his.
Mm-hmm.
Her like instrument is not inferior to his. Her like ability to play, her musical, like nothing to me. To me, I'm always like, hang on, why are we acting like this? These are such different things.
Mm, yeah.
She doesn't get the credit.
I think people like the image of Dylan.
Well, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
he's like a thing that who even knows? And I'm not really into that. And he's horrible live.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, because he's 900 and he sings like really bad.
Yeah.
And his voice
Aging
is like,
Dylan is pretty sad.
So I might have booed him.
That's so great.
I mean, obviously, who cares?
Did anyone else boo with you?
No, my parents were mortified, I think. They were just like, you know nothing. Like, where did this child come from? Because they liked him, I guess. Not, I guess, they did. They thought I was booing royalty.
Yeah.
Which I was.
You were.
Which I was.
Joni, so I don't like Joni Mitchell's voice.
And herein, this is my point, though. Because
I love her songs.
But like, if everyone can get behind Bob Dylan's voice,
I know.
like,
I know. There's a lot of singers around that time that I just don't like. Who's the other one that I'm like, wait, who are you? There's a lot of singers around that time that, like, it's that silvery, like, I don't know. I'm not into it.
Joan.
Joan Baez. Yeah, I'm not into it.
Oh, my mother is
But-
in love with Joan Baez.
Yeah.
Oh my, always has been.
Mm.
And yeah, we like waited in line for my mom to meet her and stuff. They're twins.
I've come around to that style. I call it a style. It's a style. And I like them singing it. You know,
It's the opposite of whatever the style is these days.
totally the exact opposite.
And the style these days like bothers me.
Yeah, like all belt.
It's not just. I don't think it's all belt.
Oh yeah, what do you think it is?
I think it's like sound like a 5-year-old girl.
Yeah.
I think everyone is trying to sound like a baby girl. It's kind of strange.
Like, why can't I think of her name right now? Ponytail.
Everyone, like every female in pop rock who's not belting
Yeah.
is doing like a little white girl voice,
Mm.
like
Mhm.
like a pixie
Yeah.
dream girl voice.
Definitely.
And there's something, at least stylistically, that's much more like there about the way Joni Mitchell or Jemima is. There's not screens.
Mm.
There's not as many screens between. And I'm not even talking about the technical.
Yeah. Like I wonder if I was growing up then, whether I would be like, oh yeah, I love this kind of singing. Whether that
I don't know.
would be like what's palatable to me or whatever it is. I like her singing it. I don't know if I would want anyone else sing. I like very much put it over there.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I love her poetry. I see her and like Leonard Cohen being very similar. Put those two together. He couldn't sing either.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I haven't really ever deeply got Leonard Cohen, but I can't say I've tried.
He's Canadian.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever got to. Did I ever get to like meet him or run into him? Because he only
you would
passed
casually
recently.
not know.
Yeah.
He's so insignificant in your mind.
He's not like, he's a funny celebrity to cite. I don't know if I saw him at Beauty's or whether a friend of mine saw him at Beauty's and told me about it when I was at Beauty's with him. I can't remember this memory right now.
Oh my god.
Anyway. I was thinking.
I love singing Joni Mitchell.
Do
Sorry.
you?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
you
love
sing
it.
Joni Mitchell really, really well.
Thanks.
You do.
Thank you.
I think it's actually very hard to pull off.
It is super hot, and that's one of the reasons it's fun. Is because you're like,
Yeah.
where am I?
Yeah, but when you sing her, because your voice like naturally has like more of a bottom, right? It's interesting when you sing her.
It's interesting even to me,
Yeah.
in part because there are times that where I'm like, I don't have like a high voice,
Mm-hmm.
but then I notice if I'm singing her stuff, like it opens up a particular part of my voice
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but I think I would comfortably sing this if it were like in the context of her. But because it's not, I like think of it as this like hurdle. I don't know. Something about singing her stuff opens up my like upper registers in
Yeah.
a way that I don't normally in a way that I don't use them.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels really nice.
Yeah. It's like, we got attic
So
space.
there's room. Yeah, there's attic. Yeah, there's an
Yeah.
attic. Exactly.
Huh.
But it feels like a place. Like a Joni Mitchell feels like a place that you can sing in.
Right, that you get to go visit. Aww.
Yeah, it's cute.
Aww. Yeah, my sister sings like that.
Like Joni Mitchell?
No, but she sings like very much into like her high register all the time. And I think it's partly because she trained for a while more in like an operatic style, like classical music style.
Mhm.
So that's very much where she sings.
I sing a bit of classical music to my nephew. I don't know.
Oh, I hear it.
It's so bad.
He's
It's so bad.
not to
but
him.
It's pretty thrilling.
Yeah. I think it's interesting actually that my sister like never, she just stuck to her guns with it, with her way of singing. Never like cave to peer pressure in the singing of like whatever the style of the time, you know?
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway. Style of the time.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think I'm not super into a lot of stylization when it comes to vocals. And the more like from inside to outside product, the clearer that line feels, the more I like it.
Like you don't want to be like
Effects.
shape, effects. Like, how does it sound?
Yeah,
Make it
like
sound
you can obviously
her.
you can obviously like do effects in your
Yeah.
head, like in your body. And people who do that, like it's so strange to me when people are like have a one speaking voice and then they start singing and you're like, who's that? Yeah, they're like, this song, blah blah blah, and then they start. I'm older. What is happening?
It's also very strange. People who have accents. Can you explain that to me? Where did their accents go?
Not all of them go somewhere. But
No, some of them keep them, but most of them, where'd it go? And that to me can only be that, like, yeah, they're trying to sound like someone else.
it's the ubiquity of Western culture.
Oh, duh. Yeah.
Like it's people setting standards and being like, this is where it's at. November.
Yeah. I never got it. What's the like European singing contest?
The song contest?
Yeah, what is that again? Like Eurovision? What is it?
Some strange. It's a strange thing.
I was curious about it though. It's like what songs are they singing? I don't know.
It's precisely that attitude that makes people be like, we better do an American accent.
So Quebec actually, I think I've talked about this before. They have like a really strong culture, French culture, including music.
Mhm.
Like the rest of Canada doesn't really have that. But Quebec has like their own singers, like French music, and don't really try to conform. And that's incredible. And like people really listen to it too. If you're like, yeah, I don't know. So there's such like a gravitational pull from America, I find, if you're in Canada, that it's really extraordinary that Quebec manages to be like, nope, we're going to support our own.
When it's like a thing that is connected to the British or the French, though, I'm always like, I'm a little like jaded about. Get a little jaded.
What do you mean?
I'm like, yeah, you're special because you're French.
Oh yeah.
It's sad. I'm not suggesting that that's the cultural identity of people in Quebec.
It's not even French though. It's like Quebecois.
Yeah, your French doesn't sound like any French that I
Yeah.
used to hear.
Yeah, it's weird. They're very. It's a weird place.
There's something, yeah, I guess I think still that there's something kind of strange to me about like the Commonwealth countries.
Yep.
And so, like, if you're, I feel like that's so awkward to still have Commonwealth countries.
I never understood it.
Like, why still do that?
I mean, I guess there's benefits to it. That's the only thing I can see.
Right. But like, it's sad to me. This not the same way, but like, the idea that you have to sound more British if you're Indian. Like the idea of feeling refined because of your proximity to Britishness.
Yeah.
It's the same type of sad to me that like, and maybe it is more like maybe Quebecois it is like its own completely different thing. But anytime it like shouts out to like one of these giant like colonial cultural giants,
That's
it
why
freaks me
Quebec
out.
is weird. They have no allegiance to France.
I mean, how is that possible?
No, like they-
Culturally,
Yeah.
how is that possible?
I mean, Jacques Cartier came over in 1527, I want to say. I think that's right.
Okay,
So it's pretty old.
everything is relative.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And like Montreal or Quebec was obviously because it's right there, it was like one of the first places that was developed. And it just, I think from the start, it kind of like had its own culture, has like very deep Catholic roots because of that too. And it's maintained that, it's stayed that way. And didn't like fought against British rule, right?
Mhm.
So it's a weird thing. But then they get all the benefits of Canada. But yeah, I guess they have all the baked baking. That's where they benefit from it.
What do you mean benefit from it?
Or like those are I guess those would be the closest like ties is maybe like the lifestyle or so I think of like the food, appreciation of wine.
Right.
Kind of.
All that is like cultural, right? Like
Yeah.
food, music, wine.
Yeah. But it's different in Montreal than you've been there. Yeah. It's different in Montreal than the rest of Canada.
What about the rest of Quebec?
I don't know. I've never really explored the rest of Quebec. I know that like you get outside of Montreal and it's very, very French, Quebecois.
Interesting. Yeah, I know nothing about.
Almost entirely.
I know nothing about the territory. Beyond Montreal at all. And not that I know that much about Montreal. My sister loved it.
Yeah.
She was really happy that
I think it's a great university town.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, to have to like, you know, yeah, she got her master's there. Is that right? Her bachelor's.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
like years
So
later. I
exciting.
went to Montreal for New Year's and stuff.
right.
When she definitely didn't go to school there.
Yeah. Yeah, to be like a young person there studying. I mean, it's very pretty. Drinking age is 18. It's very cheap. Like it's just a great university town. Yeah. Mm. I got out. I didn't go to McGill.
No.
Too easy.
Going to McGill was too easy
Yeah,
because it was right there.
I guess so. Like it's one of the best schools.
So it was too easy to want to go there?
It's just like, did you always know you wanted to go to school in New York?
I don't know what always is.
Or yeah, when you started to think about it, did you know? Oh yeah, did you think about going anywhere else?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
I applied sort of perfunctorily to Catholic, which is in DC.
Mm.
But like, I don't think I had any intention of going.
Yeah.
I was sold on New York. I was sold on the line of work, and I ended up very sold on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that kind of makes sense.
Although sometimes
That's
I wonder
really
if I should have gone to Juilliard instead.
Really? Did you get in?
I didn't.
You didn't know?
I didn't apply.
Hmm.
But I know several people who went like directly from my school to Juilliard, which I was like, that was crazy to me. People who went right into master's programs.
Oh, from NYU to Juilliard.
Yeah. So like that woman
Yeah.
Amanda, who's one of the leads of Ways and Means, who I have talked about frequently. She went. My like birthday twin went. Yeah, several people went right in.
Yeah, and obviously it worked out.
I mean, for her, it certainly did.
Yeah. I always thought like, oh, if you get a master's in drama, you're like shooting yourself in the foot. That's what I thought. That like you want to get out there. You don't want to stay in a safe environment for too long. I don't know. I had all kinds of like of opinions on education at that time, and I didn't really know what the hell I was talking about.
I mean, I think that's also true.
Yeah.
I definitely was like, you guys want to go back to school right now? Like,
Right.
But the world, it's right there.
Yeah. And you're in New York City. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember being like, do you want to like see what you've learned? I don't know. Like, But I remember my friend Mary specifically, who ended up going to Juilliard years later, like not long ago, years later, saying when we graduated, she was like, I feel like now that I've graduated acting school, I'm finally ready to go to acting school. And I was like, whoa. I'm really relieved I don't feel like that. I'm so happy I don't feel like that. I wanted to weep. But I think a lot of people experience that.
What made her feel like, now I'm ready? Now I really get it.
I mean, it's a lot of going internally and going deep and going beyond your fear and going beyond your imaginings or understandings about the world. And I guess maybe like some people are more or less prepared at different times to do it.
Yeah. I also don't know how much of that is just about age. You know, more and more I'm like, oh, so much of what I needed was just time.
Yeah.
Just needed to cook a little bit more.
That's the thing about age.
Yeah.
Is that some things like take a while.
Yeah. You get older and like, I don't know, that you're just more okay with yourself, you're just more open. And you care about more things. Yeah.
Want to hear something simple, weird, and totally off topic?
I do.
My parents today, on the phone not long ago, claimed that I never told them anything about, or they have no memory of, me telling them anything about my session with Eric regarding my first session there.
Really?
Yeah. So like when I was rehashing a couple of points today from that subject matter,
Yeah.
they were like, wait, what? And I was like, remember the whole like cosmic incident or whatever? And they were like, no. I was like, you don't remember that we have like a fugly soul contract? And like, how can you not remember that?
It's somewhat memorable.
I mean, it seemed memorable to me. They were like, no, but remember that he said run. I was like, yeah, he said run for your wife. But like, you thought that that was such a formative experience because he told me to leave my boyfriend?
What'd they say? So wait, did you tell them or did they forget?
Didn't I tell them? Or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes, that.
I feel like I told them because it seems like a kind of important thing and I'm not clear why I would hide it. I don't know why I would hide it.
Right.
Is more the thing. Like I was saying something about the song and they were like, what song? And I was like, excuse me? My mom was like, I thought the first time anyone wrote a song for you was your sister a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, Ma, that's not even the second song someone wrote.
I have a lot of songs, okay?
But like I happen to.
Yeah.
But that's what happens if you have a thing about musicians.
Yeah.
It's not like an act. It's not like destiny. Like any creative person, really. They like will make things that have something to do with you.
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe you're a bull. Yeah. Can I ask what you're doing?
Sorry. I'm looking up anti-itching remedies. I am listening. I'm very concerned. Anyway.
I might have something.
Yeah. Okay. Do it later.
I mean, I can go look now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long it would take me to find, but it might be quicker than I think.
Okay. If you can't find it, forget it. I got bit last night by something. I don't know. Chamomile. Yeah, see, I don't have chamomile. I should keep my bathroom better stocked.
The chaos is more organized than you might think.
Hey!
I was like, really? Digging is my strategy? And I was like, oh, there it is.
What is it? Oh, Chiggerex. What's Chigger?
It's some bug down south.
Ooh. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So they didn't remember the song.
Which is only significant not but independently, but because the content like creepily matched exactly what the whole thing was.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything was proof, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really remember anything about it. And it made me, you know what I was present to?
What were you present to?
It made me very present to the fact that like I do not come from a religious household.
Okay.
My mom was raised Catholic. My dad was raised Hindu. Neither of them are religious. And my mother certainly doesn't chamomile. You don't have that. But,
I know.
It's strange to not have that.
I know. Many important things.
Yeah, there's a lot of plant-related items here.
You were very present to not being raised in a religious household.
Yeah. So as the way that kind of played out is that my dad's like rationality, his like analytical side, his like science-y mind created a lot of like skepticism and doubt about certain things.
Mhm.
And my mom like I think has like a much wider like she believes in weird shit. But it's sort of sometimes a dicey thing because if it gets close to God, then she gets uncomfortable, I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
Because then we start to go into like religion and she's not into the religion.
Okay.
It's the thing that I'm present to is that like I know where all my fucking doubt comes from, basically. I was like, oh. And so like the reason I think they don't remember anything from that Eric thing is because I think they don't believe it.
Oh. Yeah. And it would definitely like not sink as deep. So you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like so I sent him a message last night being like, what do you believe in this concept?
Wait, by him you mean your dad?
Dan.
Dan, okay.
Yeah. Do you believe in this concept? And of Stasi.
Oh, okay.
And he's the only person that like there's no one else to ask.
Yeah.
And I was curious. And he was like, I don't really know that word, but if like I do know about, and then he reminded me that it's the same thing as indigo children.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is that what indigo children means? Or indigo?
It's like all sort of the same
Okay.
cluster. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I do remember the guy saying on the phone, like, have you heard of any of these like things?
Uh-huh.
So I don't know how much of an exact science any of it is. So I don't know if it's like that's exactly what I don't know. But he said something that like is pretty pretty nutty sounding, but it is the same thing that he has said to me for 10 years.
Okay.
Almost.
Yeah.
And he reminded me yet again. I'm just so floored by the consistency of his view of the universe. So a couple of things. One is that it combined with War and Peace and stuff have made me think a lot about this idea of divine love. Because I feel like it comes up multiple times here.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of that statement that he made that I was very freaked by about sort of like a comparative statement about his daughter. Do you remember this?
Wait, I don't know. Continue.
Basically saying like, I don't feel more.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
You were really freaked out.
Wicked.
Yeah,
that like this is demented.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, to me that is like borderline demented.
Yeah.
But I'm like thinking of it from a slightly different perspective because once again, like a lot of the stuff that I was told yesterday is extremely, it's not like freakishly, uncannily, they read the same book aligned, but it's like basically aligned with what Dan has said and is saying. And I'm now remembering because he said it again and I was like, oh, yeah, he's been saying this shit the whole time. Like no variation.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing he said was like, whatever it is, I feel like I'm 100. If it's a thing, I'm 100% confident that I am, and I'm 100% confident that you are, and I'm 100% confident that my daughter is. So then that to me then brought up this thing that he had said, and I was like, oh, maybe he was saying that from a place which is difficult for me to get my fucking brain around, truly, but from like this place
Oh, that when he was saying
of like,
he felt that way towards you, it's like it's a divine love. Is that what you mean?
yes, that like, so from a certain perspective, this is the same to him. And for me, that's like really sacrilegious of like our earthly relationships
Yeah.
because of everything that's really obvious about it. Like how you're supposed to feel about your kids, how, like.
Well, there's a priority to your family with your view.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, not everyone has that.
Okay, first of all, that's crazy.
Okay.
It's crazy. I'm not saying wrong.
No, I know.
It's just wild. But I don't think it's so wild as adults. To me, like saying that about a baby and like an adult that you've like also gotten into 900 fights with is so wild. Your baby, yeah, I think on some level, like I expect him to be like, yeah, which I'm sure he is, but anyway, it was just like a consideration that it depends, like what if he's coming from this other place, suddenly it doesn't seem such an obscene statement to me. Because if he's looking at it from all of those perspectives, then it's like me, her, him, it's all just like one big happy family.
Yeah, it's a different kind of love than what you thought.
Yeah. And he's been saying the same shit for so long, and I guess I was skeptical.
Yeah.
So these days when I hear confirmation of like these old things, I'm like, what, really? But they're totally constant. They've remained totally constant.
Did he learn this anywhere? Like he reads a lot, right?
You don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
But
I know he's also like, I don't know what to call him. I don't know what to call him.
No, he didn't learn it.
Yeah, like he grew up
in a religion that he rejects.
But like it kind of had
a
belief in something.
Yes. And one thing that I think he did benefit from, in a strange way, and also really suffered greatly for, was the fact that when he was born, his parents were like, you are like, so there's something special going on here. So he grew up with a completely different assumption, which is that he like had like special work, God's work to do, or something crazy. I have to say that's crazy. So he did grow up with that assumption, but the fact that he has extricated himself from a bunch of it actually gives me faith in the stuff that he didn't extricate from. So I think he kept the stuff that is like for him true and is bigger than Christianity or a certain sect of Christianity or anything like that.
Yeah. More and more what I find curious about religion is like it's pointing to something that is true. It doesn't mean the religion is true.
I think that's a really like, what a boring thing to be confused about. Seriously. Like, isn't it obvious that every religion is the same? How is that not obvious?
I mean, they're not the same. But I think they're trying to grab hold of the thing that is the same.
Everyone's looking at the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I feel like that's really obvious. And I don't know why we don't act more as if, like, actually that's a uniting thing among all of these people. Is that everyone's, like, trying for the same thing. Like, how ass backwards to create a divisive situation out of something that is so actually
That's crazy. Like,
unifying.
religious wars are crazy.
Plus, like, you literally just have to take a meander to see that everyone is talking about the same thing. Everyone is talking about the same thing. Everything is the same thing.
Mhm.
Seriously.
I don't know if everyone's talking about the same thing because I don't know enough about, like, I probably don't know enough about other religions. Thinking in particular of Islam, I don't know enough.
It's the same shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, there are differences, but it's a little bit like people speak different languages, but they're all speaking.
Mm-hmm.
They're all, like, communicating. They're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Just in, like, completely different ways.
I had a shower thought. I was thinking about Christianity
Mm-hmm.
and the golden rule. And I was like, everything is about balance, right? And so do unto others as you would have done to you. And I guess I was also thinking about, like, you being like, oh, but I can't, like, I don't want to slip into, like, narcissism. So, like, I kind of keep myself small. And I was thinking about do unto others as you would have done unto you. If you're, like, used to not treating yourself very well, that breaks down.
If you're not used to treating
Like,
yourself.
I think it has to go both ways. Like, do unto yourself as you would have done unto others.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think with Christianity, it went too far in the opposite direction. Where people started not treating, like, being martyrs and not treating themselves well. And it when you do that, you're like cutting yourself off from how well you can treat other people. Like, you're a hypocrite in one of the situations. Either when you treat yourself well, you're not really being true, or when you treat others well, but you're bad to yourself, you're not really being true.
Right, but not everyone's like that.
I think not everyone's like that. I think overall, I just see this again and again, that people are just not good at accepting themselves.
That is a very
And, like,
that's a very cultural phenomenon.
Definitely.
And yes, I think that is certainly true of where we are and, like, where we live.
Yeah, they think that, like, I know you didn't want to go into your relationship with yourself. Like, we think that ourselves is like a different category of person.
Wait, hang on, what do you mean you do? Right?
I mean, like, with your sister.
Because I think it's I think it's rhetorically like a Pandora's. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We think ourselves is like a different category.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, right, like, one has a relationship to themselves, and it's very different than a relationship with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yourself is another person.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not that far a stretch to really just be like, right, would I ever treat someone else in this way? And if you wouldn't, it makes no sense.
I think you're saying the same thing that the thing is.
Do unto others?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? But I think, like, we don't do unto ourselves. I don't know. Anyway, I was just thinking about, like, the balancing of it. And a lot of a lot of Christianity has gone. I don't know. I was thinking very much in terms of like pilgrims and Puritans, I guess, and how much they like revoked from themselves. And I guess for me too, like how much I kind of like laugh about it, how much I deprive myself, but it's not funny.
Mhm.
Like if I were to treat someone else in the way that I treat myself, that would be really, really cruel. And even just something as simple as like the fact that I'm an actor and the way I put that down, like if anyone else in life, like a stranger on the street, if I treated them about their aspirations the way that I treat myself, it would be really cruel.
Mhm.
And for you too, like if you're like, yeah, I'm Starcy. If someone else were like that, I don't think your response would ever be like, you gotta keep that shut.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't met that many people that are like this. I'm serious. Like, there's a reason I only had one person to text about it.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And then I was like, "Did you know a lot of people like this? Like, this isn't this kind of your like purpose in life?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yep." I was like, "Well, cool. I've remembered something accurately."
Mm-hmm.
It's his like he's like constantly foraging for people who are a certain kind of people.
Yeah.
And today he said, I'm sure he's fucking told me this 700 times before, but I didn't hear it in the same way.
Okay.
That his cosmic purpose is to seek people like this out and link them. And I was like, of course, that is what you've been doing this whole time. I don't think I do that. I don't think that's my cosmic purpose. So I don't know. I don't have anyone to, like, I don't have anything to. My parents are like really good role models for being people.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do anything else.
What do you mean?
I don't know how to do anything that is not in the realm of the like profoundly human.
Okay.
So
I don't think that's a wrong thing.
I don't think it's wrong either, but I think it is important to be able to access something that is not from that place, and it's just a little. It's dark,
Okay.
not dark in a negative sense. Dark in a like I can't see anything.
Yeah, and do you think that it's partly because you still have like some remnants of growing up in a household where it was skeptical?
Huge.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm like embarrassed to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I remember like the conversation when you first opened up about Eric, I think it was, and you were kind of like, do I do this?
Yeah. It's a little bit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what it sounds like. So when people speak about other people on their mountains in Malibu, I'm like, what?
Right.
And actually, like, Eric is sort of the reason that I didn't run for my life. I was like, okay, wait, let's just like, let's actually see what this is.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm curious more and more how doubt, self-doubt, and skepticism might be self-defeating. Which sounds like a really obvious thing when I say it out loud. But it gets hairy when you start talking about stuff that like isn't widely accepted.
Yeah.
Like, part of me is still like kind of weirded out by the fact that Dan's like, oh, I'm 100% one of them. I'm like, oh, you are, are you? But then that's me getting enmeshed in stupid, because like he is.
Right.
So where am I going with this? Where am I going with that?
Okay. Well, you're talking about it. So maybe
People who say things like this about themselves are insane.
I think you pick your people. I don't think it's necessary for you to go around telling people this
I don't know.
because you're processing it.
Oh God, there's something written.
You're processing it, and you're not. I don't know. Is it useful to you,
Is what?
like knowing this about yourself?
Only if I like. See, my ear immediately went to the fact that you use the word knowing this about yourself. Makes it sound like a fact. And I'm immediately like, yeah, but
I thought of
this
that
sounds
too.
crazy.
Like you can leave it alone unless knowing it about yourself. You can leave it alone unless it opens some door that you're like, oh, I kind of want to go through that door. Like by just like having it as a possibility.
I feel like
want to explore that.
I feel like it's important to.
Yeah.
If I feel like it's important to do.
Okay. Because when you were describing it, it seemed like you felt recognized, you felt seen, and you felt like you were recognizing yourself as something you had kind of always known you were.
Yeah, that's just a really scary thing to. That's just it's scary. Because I'm really afraid of being wrong. I'm really afraid of being like the dumbass who didn't realize they were a dumbass.
Yeah.
But the option then is to act like a dumbass. And be like, isn't it so great how I know I'm a dumbass? And what's that gonna be like? I think probably kind of lame.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's a bit of an act.
Mm.
Like, I think it'll be a bit of an act. I go into like a mode sometimes with some people that is like kind of like my Ishan mode, which is like neutralize the threat. Literally just like got it right out.
Okay.
So I have like that's the reason that I got the job that I did for several years, is because it's like somehow I think when you learn like in what ways, especially as a woman and stuff, you learn how to be small and how to like not bury the lead, but like hide the daggers.
Yeah, definitely.
And that like mode is pretty easy for me to go into. The like, I'm not a threat to you thing. I'm nothing but a dumbass. Where was I going with this?
I remember a friend of mine is ridiculously tall. And I remember at one point he was talking about like how difficult it was to be so tall and to be a guy. And like how he's always aware that he's threatening to other people. He's like always aware to not raise his voice. And like he's aware like if he's walking home late at night, like other people will cross the street.
This is a white person?
White person. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember like just being like, I'm 5'3" and I do that. Like I'm 5'3" and I make myself smaller. You're fine. I don't know, like not having sympathy for him really, but it was like, yeah, I'm like the least threatening person ever. And I still make sure to hide all the knives.
So that's like a way to live.
Yeah.
It is. Oh god, there's more words. What are the words?
What are they?
What are the words?
They're silly. Are you guys on anything curious? Also, what? Yeah, it's really important. They want to do a drinking game every time you say dumbass. Drink every time you say
But
dumbass.
do you see
or dongle?
Or dongle. Do you see the response being like, are you on something?
Yeah, I get it. So I like want to talk about consciousness all the time.
Yeah.
And I do not, because I'm worried that sounds crazy. And like scientists
People are really into talking about consciousness.
I think that people are like, what the fuck are you talking? Like, I just want to talk about free will all the time.
So one of the things that another thing that I meant to tell you that I was going to allow the recording to tell you that I thought you would find interesting is he talked about something called like the 100th monkey, right? And I was like, this sounds familiar, but tell me anyway.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, there's some like island and scientists, whatever.
Yeah.
I can't fucking remember the basic premise. They're like bands of monkeys on the island, and they're like observing them or whatever. And they're these like sweet potatoes, or there's some kind of fucking thing that they eat, and they're all covered with sand, and so they basically like have this like sandy sweet potato thing, and then like they do it and do it and do it, and then one day, one monkey goes and like rinses it off in the water.
Oh, this is like Deepak. I think Emily was talking about this. Wait, I'm sorry, continue.
Oh, is that why it was familiar?
Maybe. And
I
is
was
it
like,
like, and then once the 100th monkey gets it, all the monkeys get it?
Not all the monkeys get it, but monkeys that are on the totally other side of the island, one of them does it as well.
Yeah.
And then like a different side over there, one of them does it. Which sort of implies that there's like a saturation point. Just to throw in a chemistry term.
Chemist.
There's a saturation point with consciousness, past which, if you like push, like it goes over the other side, and then kind of probably like the tipping point, it like starts to carry itself, or like starts to be its own, like it's not uphill. You're not going uphill anymore. So according to this guy yesterday, he said that we were very close to being at that place where that place in 2013, and then I can't remember what happened, but something did, and instead we like swung, and we only needed 2 or 3% more.
2%. Okay.
To like fundamentally create a paradigm shift in consciousness.
What kind of paradigm shift are we talking? Like, is it that we all get it, or that we're all able to talk about it in a different way?
No, I'm not sure. But like something that
we came so close.
Something that would help us like stop killing the planet.
Probably.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Well, and like, like
that's what I find freedom. Everyone talks about it now as if like, oh yeah, like we're all one. But no one's living that way.
Right. Because people don't actually think that.
Exactly.
So he's suggesting
why I don't
that
like Brene Brown. Anyway.
But what is that for Brene Brown?
Because everyone goes like, oh yeah, Brene Brown.
But that's not.
And I'm like,
fault.
you don't understand what she's actually saying. I'm not even sure she understands what she's saying.
That's not her fault.
No, I know it's not her fault.
In the same way that's not Christianity's fault if people like fuck with the thing.
Yeah.
Like it's people fucking with something. It's not because the idea inherently
I don't think they're
is
fucking with it. I just think like they've like shaved a top layer, and they're like, yeah, this is amazing. And it's a fucking parfait.
But it's people.
Yeah.
It's not the parfait. Like it's people.
It's people?
Yeah, like that's not a like a flaw in Christianity. That's a
Flaw in
people flaw.
That's about the people, not the thing.
Yeah. So take Christianity out and put something else, and the same thing will happen until it doesn't.
Mhm.
And so he thinks that there's like a big old reckoning occurring right now.
Mm.
So like I've spoken to both Eric and him in this like coronavirus thing, and they fully are like, yeah, I mean it's a virus, but also that's not what it's about. That's not what this is about, according to both of them. And it is like a bit of a crucible. And where are we gonna go? Which way is it gonna go?
Yeah.
And he says that we're back to being in that place of needing only 2 or 3 more % to get to 100th monkey. And I was like, that sounds doable. And he was like, you're an idiot. He didn't say that, but he was like, it's hard. It's hard one. Like each microgram of it is hard one. So 2 and 3% might not sound like a lot, but it is. And I was like, okay, but like it's better than 7.
I don't know. A lot of people are saying that kind of about this time. And by that I mean like a lot of like Gaia people
Okay.
are saying that about this. Yeah, there's something there on Starseed. Anyway,
There is.
Yeah. Have you been looking it up at all?
Very basically.
Okay. A lot of people are saying that about this time. Like, yep, it's like people have been predicting this time. And even, okay, again, about human design. So, like, I'm a projector. wait. I'm a projector. And apparently projectors are pretty new. And, like, they're more and more becoming, like, very, very common. And the reason is because, like, we're being ushered into a new age where, like, guides are more needed and valuable than what has been before, which are, like, builders. Anyway, I don't know if this is going to be finally the thing. I'm really worried that everyone just wants to go back to normal. And that's actually what scares me almost just as much. Is like, yeah, if we just go back to whatever it was before.
Yeah, of course.
That's crazy to me. This like showed the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
And why would we do that? It feels like we're so close.
The reason I'm telling you any of this is because I think of you as being quite an optimist when it comes to stuff like this, and are usually like, can we just all like blah blah? And this was the closest thing that I have heard in a while to like, yeah, we might be able to blah blah blah.
Well, I think at some point, definitely, I think Star Trek is gonna happen. I do actually. I think it is gonna happen.
Right. To me, it's more like, are we going to go kicking or screaming, or are we going to go?
And I think it's about like different people are going to have different reactions to it.
Mm-hmm. But that's only true if it's not the 100th monkey.
Yeah, but there's some monkeys or what?
Yeah, but those monkeys will stop mattering the second you're over the thing.
Mm.
The second you're over the point.
I'm not sure.
Stop mattering, meaning they won't be the critical mass.
Right.
Not that they will not exist or not. They won't be the ones that are doing the thing, that are doing everything. You talk a lot of shit about Gaia, and you seem to know a lot about what they're saying on there.
No, I have no idea, but I just remembered that it talks about aliens.
No,
I was like, oh,
my question is, who are you talking about when you're like, oh, everyone says this is such a trying. This is
like random YouTube videos that I've
Gaia videos.
Not Gaia videos.
Then who? I would like to know.
I don't know. There's like this one guy. I don't even know their names. There's a bunch of like YouTube, Charlie Manganess, I want to say, who talks a lot about human design. And
you're like so into human design.
I know. I don't know why.
I'm sad that I wasn't so thrilled
Probably
by
because it's so niche, and I'm like, yes, no one knows about this.
Why wasn't I thrilled by it?
I don't know. You were very like, okay.
I know. It's not like me.
And it wasn't like yours. It wasn't like you had a bad chart. You're a
I
man,
didn't.
Jen. It's like, huh,
What's that?
you can do everything. Like you can manifest and generate. And that all made so much sense. I remember like at one point we were having a conversation, you're like, I think I'm like a battery. And I was like, that's what a generator, like generators are like. You plug them in and they go and they put the lights on.
Maybe it's time to revisit human design. Brought to you by Human Design. Janessa sponsor.
I don't like talking about this is weird. And I don't know if I believe in it, you know? But I like speculating about it.
That's where I've been this whole time, is that I'm like really open to thinking about things
Yeah.
and entertaining them as possibilities, and imagining if they were true. It's left me in a place where I've got no skin in the game. Because I'm just like looking in all the dessert windows. I'm like, oh, I want to.
That might
But if
be the
someone's
right
like, are you going
place
to eat that? I'm like, oh, no, I don't. I'm just standing here.
That might be the right place to be, though.
It might, but I sense that in order for me to actually like plug into the wall and like actually fucking do anything, it's going to require more
Like
of me.
yeah, you talk a lot about that, like that you have to believe it for it to that's it. Like, yeah, you have to commit to it. And then it is whatever you want it to be. Maybe we've talked about like manifesting in this way, and it's like you can't be kind of like on the outside. It doesn't work like that.
Right, because being in it is the thing that
Yeah.
does it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
So
what
you
if
can't be
being-
like, like, are you manifesting it? I don't really believe in you, but
Yeah.
but I'll believe in you if you do it.
You know what I really like about this guy that I had a session with yesterday, though,
Yeah.
is that he kept repeating, and I don't know that it was for me. It felt like something that he probably tells everybody.
Yeah.
He's like, you're doing this if you do nothing.
Right.
Which means that it's not, he doesn't want you to feel like any of this is like a pressure to action.
Yeah.
He's like, your fundamental nature is doing this already.
Mhm.
So it's not like you're not going to miss the boat on who you are.
Right. Yeah, that's hugely helpful.
Yeah. So I do think that my talk about like, I'm not going to get anything done unless I X is problematic, because it enforces that view that like where I am, I'm doing a whole bunch of nothing. But when I fucking imagine.
Yeah, it's basically that, like, you already do that.
Right. And even if I do nothing, I'll still be doing that. However,
yeah, I think it's like, if it's helpful, it's helpful. And if it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
So with human design, it's like there's different authorities. That's also what I was thinking yesterday. There's different like authorities, which is basically like how you listen to yourself, how you make decisions, like what your intuition is based on. And then there's different like strategies for your type. So projectors are supposed to wait for everything.
how convenient!
What do you mean?
I would love to be in that.
No, it's the worst because it's okay. So projectors, it's like, it's not the worst. You're a non-energy type. So you don't create your own energy. You're like here to guide other people.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if I fully understand this, but like, but you can be very, you can see things that other people can't, and therefore, too, you can be very invasive in other people's energy.
Mhm.
So you have to wait for an invitation. Because if you solicit advice or help to people that do not want it,
You mean if you give it?
yeah, yeah, right, not solicit, um, uh, who do not want it, it will feel like very, I don't know, what's the right,
Like Leah.
probably, like my mom too, yeah. It'll feel very like wrong for people, and they'll feel like they have to like protect themselves against you. However, if someone invites you and like it's a good match relationship, it can be very, very fruitful. But yeah, you have to wait to be invited. So this, I go back and forth with this, but basically it's like I'm not supposed to force anything. Anything. I'm supposed to like do my thing, and then hopefully other people will be interested. And if they want it, they will ask me. They'll come to me.
That sounds.
I mean, it's nice, but it takes like patience. And yeah, anyway. And the world doesn't really like work like that. Um, it's like there's a lot of like about hustle and like get yourself out there, make yourself known, market yourself, da da da. And so like there can be a lot of pressure to do that and to like perform at the level to which most of the population is performing, and they have like lots of energy. And projectors apparently just like wear themselves out and get tired, and they can't hold it, and so they work harder than everyone else trying to keep up with the game, um, and it just like completely break themselves, and it doesn't work. Doesn't matter like how hard they go, it doesn't work for them. So, I don't know. That's like an interesting experiment to try for me.
I guess one of the crucial questions is, are you or are you not? Like a thing to evaluate for yourself if you're a projector is, to what extent are you quote unquote doing your thing? Whatever doing is yours to do.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't mean never get out of bed, right? Like
No.
it means do your.
It means like we're deep learners.
Mhm.
And we want to master things.
Mhm.
So that's our thing usually. Like, and what is it? They say like we're here to play.
You're like exactly on your stupid path then. What the fuck?
You probably are too.
That sounds exactly right.
And I'm
No,
trying to
I know
think-
I am, but only because someone just told me.
Well,
But if I don't have a recording of it, then I'm gonna forget it pretty soon.
No, I was actually thinking like, oh, I'm glad we talked
Yeah.
about it.
I didn't. Yeah, there were a lot of things that I skipped because I was like, I can wait till later.
Yeah.
Like the thing about shifting consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm glad that I did too say some stuff, and I'm glad I talked about the consciousness thing here just now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were so many things that I was like, I thought that you would really like
Mm-hmm.
be both interested in and also feel like comforted by.
Yeah. I've almost never done anything like that. And I had like one little reading for human design. It's the only similar thing I've ever done. It cost me like $35. And I underestimate how nice that was, actually. I remember getting that email, and it was just like an email with a recording. And it was so nice. Yeah. Yeah, I felt seen.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think like a common thing is like, but I don't want them to pump me full of inaccuracies and lies, but you know. Like you will either recognize yourself or you won't.
Yeah. That's just it. Even if it's like not, it's like I was gonna say it's like astrology, but it is astrology. It's like whether it's true or not, whatever you respond to, like whatever you're like, oh, that is about this in my life, that's like about my sister. Like it's just presenting kind of like images to you that then you're that are helpful to you and that like you are yours to work out in whatever meaning they are for you. So if it resonates with you, it resonates with you, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. It doesn't do any harm. It's just like bringing up whatever is already there. Yeah.
I told you I wrote to him being like, can you do this or can you do that? And maybe I could do this and maybe I could do that. And he was like, well, why don't you calm down? First of all. And I'm still like working on finding the audio file. And if I can't after I call a tech guy in, then we'll see what happens next. But my mother was like, oh, they'll find it. Where can it go? And I was like, yeah, but he has to have pressed record. Not literally, but like he needs to have done whatever.
Can you just contact the FBI because they're watching us anyway? And you can just be like, hey, can you give me the recording from 9 a.m.?
I genuinely was like, I should have used the word bomb more. Maybe they would have flagged it and then I would be like, hey guys, so you know that conversation?
Or like Skype.
No, I fully Googled like, is Skype recording your conversations?
Yeah. Oh, did you?
Yes.
And are they? I don't know. If they are, they're not letting on.
No, but when I looked in the settings, there was a thing that was like, there was a setting for it.
Yeah.
And it said something like, and it wasn't like selected, so it's not automatically on. You have to turn it on. That's like, they maybe save it to like, in theory, be able to broadcast it later to other people. I don't know. There's some way to do it for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not automatically on. Bloody hell.
It isn't.
I know. I was like, but like really, NSA? Guys? Alexa, just tell me what happened in my conversation.
Yeah, right? Instagram marketing, whatever it is.
Yeah. People trying to sell me things.
Yeah.
I need you to show up for me. In a new way.
I've shown up for you multiple times.
So many times.
You're
so many people are getting rich because of me. So, time to pay it backward.
Ugh, I'm optimistic.
About the recording?
Yeah. Yeah, that tech guy's gonna find it.
I mean, he said he has a backup system and he said it is so utterly improbable that both would not work.
Oh, okay.
That it has me wondering. And I was like, but I immediately watched myself go to a place of like, I lost all the knowledge, like it's seeping through the cracks. I got all like frantic, and then I was like, the whole point was that like, I already know.
Yeah, exactly.
God damn it.
Like trust yourself.
Yeah. I was like, shit. But there was so much information. Like it was 2 hours. He spent the first hour on the like natal chart, and then the second one was like more about now. And there were things that I just glossed over, being like, I'll pay more attention to that later.
Yeah.
Like about relationships. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, okay.
Yeah, if you know something's being recorded, you listen to it differently.
Yeah. Also, I literally was like, wait, what's my purpose? Oh, forgot what my purpose is? I was waiting for the recording to tell me what my purpose is.
I think he should just re-record it. if you really can't find it. None of that, oh, it's not meant to be.
Right.
You're still running a business.
Yeah.
You should get a new session. I don't know.
I mean, like I said, B through E.
Yeah.
Even Aditi wrote to him being like, hey, what about the idea of a discounted second session? We both like sent him different emails.
Man, okay.
Being like, here are 95 ways you can fix this.
Saw a commercial. No.
And that's the other thing. That's another thing.
Please, someone send me my pre-recorded purpose. I want that too, actually. Can I have that too?
I feel like he mentioned it. Shit. Oh, about Visible. He was like saying something about how if there are projects that you have on the backbone or whatever, like now is a really good time, because I told you about the Saturn and Pluto thing.
No.
2 hours.
Oh, but you did tell me about the like just any ideas you have. They're good.
Yeah, so just like go, because there's as much cosmic support right now as there ever is for whatever it is you're doing.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's so strange that you say that, because I did something that's very uncharacteristic of me, which is to like come up with an idea and then just like do it with not a ton of analysis, forethought, planning. Like I didn't really think about any of it. It was just like, ready, go.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a 2-second thing. It's been a long ass thing. And he was like not at all surprised to hear that sort of thing. And he was like, I think that means that you can hear, like you are listening, and you should continue to listen.
Right.
And something about how you have to be willing to be more visible.
No way.
I fucking swear to God. He was like, and actually like broadcast is sort of the perfect, because I had just mentioned this, and he was like, broadcast is actually kind of the perfect word. You have to like be more and more open to broadcasting. I was like, this is right. And being more visible. And I was like, that's what I called it.
So weird.
Yeah.
Did you tell him?
Yes. Yeah, they're never like,
good. We're supposed to be doing this.
No, like we are though.
So weird. Who would think?
I don't know, but like I haven't felt bothered in the slightest bit about like whether people are watching or not. You know what I mean? I don't know about you, like, but I truly don't care.
No, I know, me too. I like look at the views when I'm editing or whatever. And it's like, oh, like whatever. The numbers aren't a lot, but I don't know. I don't care. Like all of you guys watching, I don't know. I'm just grateful that everyone. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't seem
however many or few you are.
It doesn't seem like. Yeah, that doesn't seem important. I trust in the same way that like dreams work on the level of dreams. Like I trust that whatever is happening is working on the level that it's working to whatever outcome or extent or whatever. And if it doesn't amount to anything earth-shattering, then I genuinely feel like it's like one step towards a thing that will be earth-shattering.
Yeah.
I think of this as arrogance. What I just said.
Really?
Yes.
That it's one step on the way to earth-shattering?
Yeah. Because I'm implying that like I have anything to do with anything earth-shattering. And that is just unseemly. Yeah. Anyway. I've never believed that I had a purpose. Is it?
That's not true.
Is it not, Robert?
I think you've believed you've had a purpose and you've been ashamed of that thought.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I don't know that I've known what it, not that I know what it is now, but my mom today was like, oh, cool, so that's Dan's purpose. What's yours? I was like, I didn't write it down.
Your purpose is to be the eternal ocean of
You have that whole like dharma thing in your head, don't you?
knowledge.
I don't know. I feel like you're like nudging me towards dharma.
Oh, with yoga? What do you
Just in general, like yeah, like that's where your strengths lie.
No, I think your purpose might be more like, people really like capturing it in like a sentence.
I know.
It's like, okay, fine, this isn't an elevator pitch.
Elevator purpose.
Seriously, and I think it's so much more complicated than that because over the course of your life, you do many different things.
Mhm.
And it's like through that medium, you're doing your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I think yours is kind of like, I mean, it doesn't really matter what I think, but I think, you turn the lights on.
That's connected to that battery thing.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. And like also that like you don't have to be like the one like creating, I don't know, it might be like television. You don't have to be like creating the show from scratch, but you like infuse it with like deep meaning and depth. Deep depth.
Hmm.
And that's also why I was like, I don't think it's a problem if you're like very connected to like this earth. Because that's where everyone else lives.
I was when Dan said that. A part of me was like, "Why would you bother coming all the way?" And then being like, "I'm gonna hang out with anyone who lives here."
Right? Yeah.
It's so amazing that he was equal parts right and wrong, and like so much of both. He was like epically right about so many things. I feel like, and in the same breath.
And he's still drawing difference.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing more that because all this time has gone by and because of just like checking in with him on some of these things, I attributed a lot of the stuff he said to poetic license or romantic expression, and actually it was none of that. He meant it extremely literally.
Yeah.
Like literally. I can't believe the extent to which I thought I was like reading it as like a symbolic conveyance.
Yeah, you have reason to do that.
Yeah, it was the more obvious interpretation.
You probably felt much safer to do that too.
Yeah, because otherwise, like maybe I should be in a madhouse.
Right.
Yeah.
I told you right how. I think I told you this. There was one day that I was in the Pasadena Public Library, and at the time I was like very into everything New Age. It was like fine, just I don't know.
Okay, Gaia.
No, but it was like okay, I'm a mess. Whatever. Like pile it on me. I don't know any answers. And I ended up reading this book about angels.
That's another one that I have such an allergy to.
It wasn't a book about angels, but then it like crossed over into this realm where then the guy was talking about all the conversations he's had with angels. And I just started crying on the floor of the library because I was like, great. Now I'm a person who reads books about angels.
That's why you were crying?
Yeah. And it felt like I was divorced from a younger self that was like much more in the norm, like much more in line and more acceptable, more like scientific and stuff. I don't know. And that I could never get back to that person anymore. So, like, look at me, I'm reading a book about angels, and I'm like seriously considering whether it's true or not.
That's so sad. And also really funny.
Yeah. But yeah, I get it. Do you want to read?
Read what? What?
Read a book! War and Peace! Oh! Can we? I'm going to talk to you later.
Yeah, I feel like we can.
But I don't know if we should use him. Could we use an audio clip of him?
I think so.
Yeah.
I already knew what you were asking.
Oh shit, this isn't charging. Like, we could put it as the trailer.
Yeah, I actually thought of
Okay.
that. The parentals will definitely freak out. Is what I'm
We need to
thinking.
have his definition.
Yeah. I guess I have no way to relate to what it's like having a child. Well, having a child at all, but also in an age where cameras are everywhere from day zero. Like that's a different way to grow up.
Yeah.
There weren't cameras literally in every room of every place that I ever was when I was growing up. You know, that's what these are.
Yeah.
And people use them.
Mhm.
So I can understand wanting to control that because it also feels like he gets to have so little participation in what is made public of his. It's a little bit like being like, be a child actor, you know? It's like you kind of have to wait for them to like make that choice.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's out of the question, and I certainly don't think audio is out of the question.
Right. But yeah, I think you need to ask them.
Yeah.
It'd be so good.
Or just set
So
myself up for
cute.
epic, epic
Oh, great. Let's do that instead.
schism, familial schism,
Oh, good word.
sometime in the future. That word just came to me from my divine feminine. Like Trapezoid did.
all the song
I
lyrics.
don't know
All the song
Trapezoid. Yeah, all the song lyrics.
Mhm.
I'm like, and my mouth's moving.
Yeah.
Petya's dead.
Yeah, that's right. I just remembered.
You just now remembered?
I was like, what did we read? Yeah.
We read that misleading fucking Merry Band of Thieves.
Seriously.
bullshit.
It was too merry.
Yes. It was
Should
certainly,
have smelted in the water.
it was just way too weird.
This YouTube channel is your cosmic purpose. We do need that audio.
It is? Wait, do you know my purpose? Listen, you're gonna feel like a dick if this actually is my cosmic purpose and you just insulted it. Or Janessa's.
You don't know that's sarcasm.
You're right. I'm a huge dick, I guess. For impugning your honor in what you wrote.
Yeah, little Petya Rostov got a little bit too heated in the battle. He got too heated in the heat of the battle.
Was there even a fucking battle, or did he just like?
It was a very easy battle, and basically Denisov was like, "You stay by." He was just like, "Be cool."
Yeah.
And he couldn't be cool.
Not even for a second.
Nope. He charged forward and got shot in the head. That's pretty much what happened.
I'm grateful that we didn't spend that much time with him.
Yeah, actually, it's nice that he was a late introduction.
Yeah, because he's delightful, and that would have been much worse if it hadn't just started in book 14 or whatever.
Right.
I can't believe Karatiev is fucking dying either.
Right. And then we went to Pierre. Oh, right. So this whole skirmish, what would you call it? Anyway, the Russians took the French, their little band. And among the French were Russian prisoners, and among those prisoners was Pierre. Great. And then we went back to Pierre, and we kind of found out what he's been doing. And Karatia,
Just mostly just walking.
mostly just walking, but he's like,
He's in his
enlightened.
purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, right, this is no different. My feet, the way that my bare feet cannot move, it's the same as like when I was rich and I had a tight shoe. It's all the same. Everything's the same.
See, even fucking Pierre knows it's all the same.
Pierre knows.
I feel really bad about his feet.
Do you?
Yeah, no, seriously, because there's all different kinds of discomfort in the world, but I think shoe discomfort is pretty high up there.
But all discomfort is discomfort.
Okay.
It's like, apparently the Buddhists say there's something called like one taste.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically when you like really get in touch with all of that life is. It all basically is of one taste.
That makes
That
sense.
to me is like what Pierre was saying. Yeah.
I still feel bad about his shoes.
You're still like, I was thinking like, well, if he can do that, I can do a workout. Anyway.
Did I tell you about that time that I was rereading Lord of the Rings and there was an MTA strike in New York? And I still had a rehearsal.
Yeah.
And I was living like kind of far out in Brooklyn. And I was like, you know what?
I can go to Mordor.
Yeah. I was like, if Frodo can do it, Frodo can do this?
Yeah.
I can walk to my rehearsal.
See?
So I
Art is
left like
important.
2.5 to 3.5 hours ahead of time because that's what was necessary.
Yeah.
And then I like had a backpack. You know how I get weird with like packing for things?
Yeah.
Where were we going? Just like not that far away. And I was like, do we need snacks?
Oh yeah, we were going to Hermosa, which is like
I
a
was
half
should I
hour
bring
drive.
lunch?
Yeah. Yeah.
For tomorrow. And I went outside with my backpack and I breathed in the foggy air of my burrow and was like, I'm like set off. And like 2 blocks later, I was like, oh, there's Kara.
So you were just really early. Great. I mean, it's all about the intention. You wouldn't have gotten that cab if you hadn't. I don't know.
I don't know either. But this is one of those stories that's like so fugly that I'm almost proud of it. Like
It's pretty cute.
So bad that it's almost good.
It's pretty good.
Like I was so full of like adventure. And like 2 seconds later, I was like, hey. I feel like it's the kind of thing that happens in sitcoms.
Yeah.
Like, where did all that go?
And what you saw a cow.
No.
Right.
I was like, yeah, but that was different. Yeah. Yeah, cabs. I don't think I would have been able to go back. If I was like, oh, a cab, I wouldn't have been like, wait, if I'm going to take a cab, I don't have to leave this early. Like, none of that would have happened. Like, it was on. I was like, I had left.
Yeah.
I had drawn up the anchor.
Yeah.
Pushed off from shore.
I mean, really, that's what Frodo should have done.
And I feel like he could have made it way easier.
He could have flown on the friggin' eagles.
The fucking eagles, man. Those holder outers.
I don't understand. Yeah. Can someone just clear that up for all of us?
They're dicks. Why are they playing so hard to get? Like, that's the hardest to get that
No,
you
you know
could
what? It's the
possibly
exact same thing as the Wizard of Oz.
fuck the Wizard of
It's
Oz.
like you wouldn't have believed me.
We've already talked about that.
Yeah.
That makes me so angry. I feel like she would have believed you. I feel like it.
She could have tried. See, you don't have to believe. You can just try. Or maybe that's why it wouldn't have worked.
Well, that's part of the whole thing, but like,
It wouldn't have worked. You can't just tap your slippers if you don't really.
so then she should have said
believe.
that.
Maybe that's what she meant to say.
She should have said, you wouldn't have believed me enough to make it work, because that's
Enough.
the whole thing.
Yeah, to make it work. Because it's like angel's wings.
Yeah, it requires 100% belief. She should have said that.
Well, let's edit. Let's ask for an edit.
Have you ever seen some like weird person's legs hanging in the end of? Isn't there some kind of weird thing about the end of Wizard of Oz? There's a crew member.
I've
like,
never
hanging-
looked.
I've
Yeah,
never
there
looked either.
is. Apparently someone hung themselves.
hanged.
Hanged. Right. I'm just thinking it'd be funny if someone like audio recorded over Wizard of Oz for the Good Witch's dialogue.
Just like
Change
dubbed
that,
it.
Just change that line. You wouldn't have believed me enough to make the slippers work accurately.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
It'd be really good.
We're in chapter 13,
Yeah.
book 14.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's in teens these days.
Mhm.
What was it like? Dumber than a something 13-year-old. Remember? You
Yeah.
You know the sentence?
I forget what the context was. But it was like a lad of 13, and you were like, yeah, because you don't get stupider than.
Yeah, because it was like a
Right,
dongle
13.
at 13.
Yeah.
It was like a dumbass at 13.
Yeah.
That was for you to get drunk on. The dumbass. Ready?
Yeah. At midday on the 22nd of October, Pierre was going uphill along the muddy, slippery road, looking at his feet and at the roughness of the way.
Ugh.
Occasionally, he glanced at the familiar crowd around him and then again at his feet. The former and the latter were alike familiar and his own. The blue-gray, bandy-legged dog ran merrily along the side of the road, sometimes in proof of its agility and self-satisfaction, lifting one hind leg and hopping along on three, and then again going on all four and rushing to bark at the crows that sat on the carrion. The dog was merrier and sleeker than it had been in Moscow. All around lay the flesh of different animals, from men to horses. Oh God, in various stages of decomposition.
I know, that's why I was like, carrion? Are we serious?
Yeah, and as the wolves were kept off by the passing men, the dog could eat all it wanted.
Disgusto dog.
Whoa, okay.
It had been raining since morning and had seemed as if at any moment it might cease and the sky clear, but after a short break, it began raining harder than before. Goes to show you. The saturated road no longer absorbed the water which ran along the ruts in streams.
Pierre walked along, looking from side to side, counting his steps in threes and reckoning them off on his fingers. Mentally addressing the rain, he repeated, now then, go on, pelt harder.
It seemed to him that he was thinking of nothing but far down and deep within him, his soul. Okay, let's try that again. It seemed to him that he was thinking of nothing, but far down and deep within him, his soul was occupied with something important and comforting. This something was a most subtle spiritual deduction from a conversation with Karatia the day before.
At their yesterday's halting place, feeling chilly by a dying campfire, Pierre got up and gone to the next one, which was burning better. There, Platon Karatia was sitting up, head and all, with his greatcoat, as if it were a vestment, telling the soldiers in his effective and pleasant, though now feeble voice, a story Pierre knew. It was already past midnight, the hour when Karatia was usually free of his fever and particularly lively. When Pierre reached the fire and heard Platon's voice, enfeebled by illness, and saw his pathetic face brightly lit up by the blaze, he felt a painful prick at his heart. His feeling of pity for this man frightened him, and he wished to go away. But there was no other fire, and Pierre sat down, trying not to look at Platon.
Jesus, what a dick move. He's like, I wish I could go to another fire away from your death. Well, how are you? He asked.
How am I? If we grumble at sickness, God won't grant us death, replied Platon, and at once resumed the story he had begun.
There's too many negatives in that sentence.
One.
No, grumble is negative. Like,
Oh,
this is
oh,
how I
just-
think of negatives.
Right. Okay.
Even in sentences. If I grumble at sickness is negative, won't is negative, and so is death.
Yes.
So what's the desire? Like, which is the desired?
It sounds like death is a positive.
And so, brother, he continued with a smile on his pale, emaciated face and a particularly happy light in his eyes. You see, brother.
Pierre had long been familiar with that story. What story? Karatev had told it to him alone some half-dozen times, and always with a specially joyful emotion. But well as he knew it, Pierre now listened to that tale as to something new, and the quiet rapture Karatev evidently felt as he told it communicated itself also to Pierre. The story was of an old merchant who lived a good and God-fearing life with his family, and who went once to the Nizhny fair with a companion, a rich merchant.
Having put up at the inn, they both went to sleep, and next morning his companion was found robbed and with his throat cut. A blood-stained knife was found under the old merchant's pillow. He was tried. What is that word?
Noted,
Knouted?
I will note you.
And his nostrils having been torn off. Jesus Christ!
Well, a whip used to inflict punishment.
Oh my God. Having been torn off, all in due form, as Karatev put it, he was sent to hard labor in Siberia. Fuck.
And so, brother, it was at this point that Pierre came up. 10 years or more passed by. The old man was living as a convict, submitting as he should and doing no wrong. Only he prayed to God for death. Well, one night the convicts were gathered just as we are, with the old man among them, and they began telling what each was suffering for and how they had sinned against God. One told how he had taken a life, another had taken two, a third had set a house on fire, while another had simply been a vagrant and had done nothing. So they asked the man, "What are you being punished for, Daddy?" "Oh, my dear brother," said he, "I am being punished for my own and other men's sins. But I have not killed anyone or taken anything that was not mine, but have only helped my poorer brothers. I was a merchant, my dear brothers, and had much property." And he went on to tell them all about it in due order. "I don't grieve for myself," he says. "God, it seems, has chastened me. Only I am sorry for my old wife and the children." And the old man began to weep. Now it happened that in the group was the very man who had killed the other merchant. "Where did it happen, Daddy?" he said. "When and in what month?"
And why are we calling you Daddy?
"I don't know. I don't know if this is just a fugly translation." "Come on, Daddy. When and in what month?" He asked all about it, and his heart began to ache. So he comes up to the old man like this and falls down at his feet. "You are perishing because of me, Daddy," he says.
I'm glad I don't have to read the story.
"It's quite true, lads, that this man," he says, "is being tortured innocently and for nothing. I," he says, "did that deed, and I put the knife under your head while you were asleep. Forgive me, Daddy, for Christ's sake."
Karatev paused, smiling joyously as he gazed into the fire and he drew the logs together.
And the old man said, "God will forgive you, and we are all sinners in his sight. I suffered for my own sins." And he wept bitter tears. "Well, and what do you think, dear friends?" Karatev continued, his face brightening more and more with a rapturous smile, as if what he now had to tell contained the chief charm and the whole meaning of his story. "What do you think, dear fellows?" No, I don't think there's any more daddies. Okay. "That murderer confessed to the authorities. I had taken 6 lives, he says. He was a great sinner. But what I am most sorry for is this old man. Don't let him suffer because of me." So he confessed, and it was all written down, and the papers were sent off in due form. The place was a long way off, and while they were judging what with one thing and another, filling in the papers all in due form, the authorities, I mean, time passed. The affair reached the Tsar. After a while, the Tsar's decree came to set the merchant free and give him a compensation that had been awarded. The paper arrived, and they began to look for the old man. "Where's the old man who has been suffering innocently and in vain?" A paper had come from the Tsar, so they began looking for him. Here Karatayev's lower jaw trembled, but God had already forgiven him. He was dead. That's how it was, dear fellow. Dear fellows, Karateev concluded and sat for a long time silent, gazing before him with a smile. And Pierre's soul was dimly but joyfully filled not by the story itself, but by its mysterious significance, by the rapturous joy that lit up Karateev's face as he told it, and the mystic significance of that joy.
That actually was a new paragraph for me. I was just like,
Um,
yes, you should.
I sold the
You
story. The story.
I was gonna say your thoughts about that story. It's like his way of being like, don't take Petya's death so hard, guys.
Yeah, right. You know? It's interesting. I makes it sound like God had already forgiven him. He was dead.
Forgive him for what?
I don't know if I'm just in a very Buddhist frame of mind right now. It has me thinking that maybe the sinning that religion goes into is about suffering.
What religion?
Christianity, I guess. When they talk about sinners,
Mm-hmm.
like that the sinning is actually suffering life, and not seeing it as it actually is.
So it would be forgiven for that, you mean?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, I think that's a bit difficult to discern. I think it's a bit difficult to discern. Good point.
I think so too.
Maybe we're just dumbasses.
We're just not on the brink of death.
I really want to be one of those people who's cool with death.
We should just take medicine.
That didn't do it.
Right. I was just thinking how they're giving it to like cancer patients. I think you can be cool without it and still be affected by it.
Hmm. I'm really only very freaked out by losing people. This reminds me of something else that Dan said not long ago.
Mhm.
He was coming back from a funeral just a couple of weeks ago. And he was like, I feel really grateful, blah, 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 to her. It was an acknowledgement of us. Saying his favorite topic. And then it was like, this is going to sound dark, but it isn't at all to me. But I feel like I can die now. And it will be okay.
I definitely.
As a result of something specific.
Yeah, when I went to go find my brother,
Mm-hmm.
I remember telling my therapist this. And I think it was like mostly related to when I saw I went to go find my brother with my mom, and then when I saw my mom off at the airport and she was going back to Montreal and I was going back to there, she was just like just grateful. And I think she saw me in a completely different way that she'd never seen me, and she was just like, I have such a wonderful daughter, or whatever it was. And I really felt like I had fulfilled something for her, finally. And afterwards, yeah, I remember like not really knowing what to do with myself because it felt like I could die now.
Like your work was done?
Yeah, at the time it was like I don't know what else I don't know what more I can do.
Hmm.
Didn't
Hmm.
it's already
What?
a lot. Yeah, because we
Okay,
started
so
late.
that's it.
Chapter 14.
Hmm.
A vos place! Suddenly cried a voice.
A pleasant feeling of excitement and an expectation of something joyful and solemn was aroused among the soldiers of the convoy and the prisoners. From all sides came shouts of command, and from the left came smartly dressed cavalrymen on good horses, passing the prisoners at a trot. The expression on all faces showed the tension people feel at the approach of those in authority. The prisoners thronged together and were pushed off the road. The convoy formed up.
The Emperor! The Emperor! The Marshal! The Duke!
What?
And hardly had the sleek cavalry passed before a carriage drawn by 6 grey horses rattled by. Pierre caught a glimpse of a man in a 3-cornered hat with a tranquil look on his handsome, plump, white face. It was one of the marshals. His eyes fell on Pierre's large and striking figure, and in the expression with which he frowned and looked away, Pierre thought he detected sympathy and a desire to conceal that sympathy.
The general in charge of the stores galloped after the carriage with a red and frightened face, whipping up his skinny horse. Several officers formed a group, and some soldiers crowded round them. Their faces all looked excited and worried.
What did he say? What did he say? Pierre heard them ask.
While the marshal was passing, the prisoners had huddled together in a crowd, and Pierre saw Karateev, whom he had not yet seen that morning. He sat in his short overcoat leaning against a birch tree. On his face, besides the look of joyful emotion it had worn yesterday while telling the tale of the merchant who suffered innocently, there was now an expression of quiet solemnity.
Karateev looked at Pierre with his kindly round eyes now filled with tears, evidently wishing him to come near that he might say something to him. But Pierre was not sufficiently sure of himself. He made as if he did not notice that look and moved hastily away.
When the prisoners again went forward, Pierre looked round. Karateev was still sitting at the side of the road under the birch tree, but this time he was dead.
And then the dog eats him.
Oh, just kidding, that's not what happened. He was still sitting at the side of the road under the birch tree, and 2 Frenchmen were talking over his head. Pierre did not look round again, but went limping up the hill.
From behind, where Karateev had been sitting, came the sound of a shot.
You fuckwit!
Okay. Pierre heard it plain. Okay. I'm just going to read. Pierre heard it plainly, but at that moment he remembered that he had not yet finished reckoning up how many stages still remained in Smolensk, a calculation he had begun before the marshal went by. And he again started reckoning. 2 French soldiers ran past Pierre, one of whom carried a lowered and smoking gun. They both looked pale, and in the expression on their faces, one of them glanced timidly at Pierre. There was something resembling what he had seen on the face of the young soldier at the execution. Pierre looked at the soldier and remembered that 2 days before that man had burned his shirt while drying it at the fire, and how they had laughed at him.
Behind him, where Karateev had been sitting, the dog began to howl. This stupid beast, why is it howling? Thought Pierre. You are a fucking stupid beast!
His comrades, the prisoner soldiers walking beside him, avoided looking back at the place where the shot had been fired and the dog was howling, just as Pierre did, but there was a sad look on all their faces.
I feel like I'm supposed to be like, oh, you do whatever you have to do when you've got no shoes on. You're walking to who knows where.
Yeah.
But another part of me is like, no.
Yeah.
No, you never. You never. He's looking at him with a sweet, like, smile, tears in his eyes, and this fucking guy pretends like he didn't see it. I want to wring Pierre's fat neck.
I mean, he's not exactly strong. You know?
Sure.
I agree with you. Like,
Although him being like, stupid dog, why is it howling, does give the indication that he's like blocked it from his
that's
awareness so completely that. But I guess I'm not mad at that moment. I'm mad at the preceding moment when he's like alive and sitting there.
and he chooses not to go.
Because there weren't soldiers there in that moment. Great. I guess everyone's just gonna. Chapter 15.
Yeah. The stores, the prisoners. I don't want to end there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The stores, the prisoners, and the marshal's baggage train stopped at the village of Shamshabo. The men crowded together around the campfires. Pierre went up to the fire, ate some roast horse flesh, lay down with his back to the fire, and immediately fell asleep. He again slept as he had done at Mojaisk after the Battle of Borodino.
Again, real events mingled with dreams, and again, someone, he or another, gave expression to his thoughts, and even to the same thoughts that had been expressed in his dream at Mojaisk.
Life is everything. Life is God. Everything changes and moves, and that movement is God. And while there is life, there is joy in consciousness of the divine. To love life is to love God. Harder and more blessed than all else is to love this life in one's sufferings, in innocent sufferings.
Karatiev! Came to Pierre's mind.
And suddenly he saw vividly before him a long-forgotten, kindly old man who had given him geography lessons in Switzerland. Wait a bit, said the old man, and showed Pierre a globe. This globe was alive, a vibrating ball without fixed dimensions. Its whole surface consisted of drops closely pressed together, and all these drops moved and changed places, sometimes several of them merging into one, sometimes one dividing into many. Each drop tried to spread out and occupy as much space as possible, but others, striving to do the same, compressed it, sometimes destroyed it, and sometimes merged with it.
I need to tell you something about compressed. Okay. That is life, said the old teacher.
How simple and clear it is, thought Pierre. How is it I did not know it before?
God is in the midst, and each drop tries to expand so as to reflect him to the greatest extent, and it grows, merges, disappears from the surface, sinks to the depths, and again emerges. There now, Karatiev has spread out and disappeared. Do you understand, my child? Said the teacher.
Do you understand, damn you? Shouted a voice, and Pierre woke up.
He lifted himself and sat up. A Frenchman who had just pushed a Russian soldier away was squatting by the fire, engaged in roasting a piece of meat stuck on a ramrod. His sleeves were rolled up, and his sinewy, hairy red hands with their short fingers deftly turned the ramrod. His brown, morose face was frowning, with frowning brows. It was clearly visible by the glow of the charcoal.
It's all the same to him, he muttered, turning quickly to a soldier who stood behind him. Brigand, get away!
And twisting the ramrod, he looked gloomily at Pierre, who turned away and gazed into the darkness. A prisoner, the Russian soldier the Frenchman had pushed away, was sitting near the fire, patting something with his hand. Looking more closely, Pierre recognized the blue-gray dog, sitting beside the soldier, wagging its tail.
Ah, he's come, said Pierre. And Platt, he began, but did not finish.
Suddenly and simultaneously, a crowd of memories awoke in his fancy, of the look Platon had given him as he sat under the tree, of the shot heard from that spot, of the dog's howl, of the guilty faces of the two Frenchmen as they ran past him, of the lurid and smoking gun, and of Karatiev's absence at this halt. And he was on the point of realizing that Karatiev had been killed, but just at that instant, he knew not why, the recollection came to his mind of a summer evening he had spent with a beautiful Polish lady on the veranda of his house in Kiev, and without linking up the events of the day or drawing a conclusion from them, Pierre closed his eyes, seeing a vision of the country in summertime, mingled with memories of bathing and of the liquid, vibrating globe, and he sank into water so that it closed over his head.
Before sunrise, he was awakened by shouts and loud and rapid firing. French soldiers were running past him.
Cossacks, one of them shouted, and a moment later a crowd of Russians surrounded Pierre.
For a long time, he could not understand what was happening to him. All around, he heard his comrades sobbing with joy.
Brothers, dear fellows, darlings, old soldiers exclaimed, weeping as they embraced Cossacks and Hussars.
The Hussars and Cossacks crowded round the prisoners. One offered them clothes, another boots, and a third bread. Pierre sobbed as he sat among them and could not utter a word. He hugged the first soldier who approached him and kissed him, weeping.
Dolokhov stood at the gate of the ruined house, letting a crowd of disarmed Frenchmen pass by. The French, excited by all that had happened, were talking loudly amongst themselves, but as they passed Dolokhov, who gently switched his boots with his whip and watched them with cold, glassy eyes that boded no good, they became silent. On the opposite side stood Dolokhov's Cossack, counting the prisoners and marking off each 100 with a chalk line on the gate.
How many? Dolokhov asked the Cossack.
The second 100, replied the Cossack.
Filet, filet, Dolokhov kept saying, having adopted this expression from the French, and when his eyes met those of the prisoners, they flashed with cruel light.
Denisov, bareheaded and with a gloomy face, walked behind some Cossacks who, carrying the body of Petya Rostov to a hole that had been dug in the garden. Is that a better ending?
This one's shorter.
Okay. After the 28th of October, when the frosts began, the flight of the French assumed a still more tragic character, with men freezing or roasting themselves to death at the campfires, while carriages with people dressed in furs continued to drive past, carrying away the property that had been stolen by the emperor, kings, and dukes. But the process of the flight and disintegration of the French army went on essentially as before.
From Moscow to Vyazma, the French army, 73,000 men, not reckoning the guards, who did nothing during the whole war but pillage, was reduced to 36,000, though not more than 5,000 had fallen in battle. From this beginning, the succeeding turns of the progression could be determined mathematically. The French army melted away and perished at the same rate from Moscow to Vyazma, from Vyazma to Smolensk, from Smolensk to the Berezina, and from the Berezina to Vilna, independently of the greater or lesser intensity of the cold, the pursuit, the barring of the way, or any other particular conditions. Beyond Vyazma, the French army, instead of moving in 3 columns, huddled together into one mass, and so went on to the end. Berthier wrote to his emperor, who we know how far commanding officers allow themselves to diverge from the truth in describing the condition of an army, and this is what he said.
I deem it my duty to report to your majesty the condition of the various corps I have had occasion to observe during different stages of the last 2 or 3 days' march. They are almost disbanded. Scarcely a quarter of the soldiers remain with the standards of their regiments. The others go off by themselves in different directions, hoping to find food and escape discipline. In general, they regard Smolensk as the place where they hope to recover. During the last few days, many of the men have been seen to throw away their cartridges and their arms. In such a state of affairs, whatever your ultimate plans may be, the interest of your majesty's service demands that the army should be rallied at Smolensk and should first of all be freed from ineffectives such as dismounted cavalry, unnecessary baggage, and artillery material that is no longer in proportion to the present forces. The soldiers, who are worn out with hunger and fatigue, need these supplies as well as a few days' rest. Many have died these last days on the road or at the bivouacs. This state of things is continually becoming worse and makes one fear that unless a prompt remedy is applied, the troops will no longer be under control in case of an engagement.
November 9th, 20 miles from Smolensk.
After staggering into Smolensk, which seemed to them a promised land, the French, searching for food, killed one another, sacked their own stores, and when everything had been plundered, fled farther.
They all went without knowing whither or why they were going. Still less did that genius, Napoleon, know it, for no one issued any orders to him. But still he and those about him retained their old habits, wrote commands, letters, reports, and orders of the day, called one another sire, mon cousin, Prince d'Ecmul, roi de Naples, and so on. But these orders and reports were only on paper. Nothing in them was acted upon, for they could not be carried out. And though they entitled one another majesties, highnesses, or cousins, they all felt that they were miserable wretches who had done much evil for which they now had to pay. And though they pretended to be concerned about the army, each was thinking only of himself and of how to get away quickly and save himself.
This is a fucking excellent book.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of thought it was going to get dark.
Yeah. But I'm like, on a deep level, I'm not minding it. I thought it would get dark as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, surprised, right?
Yeah.
It's whatever.
Yeah, I actually think like I underestimated Pierre's mental state,
Underestimated?
or maybe overestimated. Yeah, that's a better word for it. Because yeah, he's been on the road. He's been a prisoner for a while. Everything is very surreal. I'm sure he's in pain every day, every moment with his feet. And
Also, there are two different things.
yeah,
One is one is what is in a person's awareness and what is not. So what we are given, upon which your overestimation potentially lay,
yeah,
was his awareness.
right.
And he's like, "God, this is just like
Yeah,
dancing. This is just, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and maybe that's why you thought he was doing better than he is.
yeah. It's almost like when you're on like day 3 of a fast and you're like, I'm great. You suddenly start to feel really good. It might be similar to that.
But that doesn't mean that there's not stuff that he's keep blocking out of his awareness, that he's having to like, that he's having to do like really like malfunctional, maladaptive things in order to survive it.
Yeah.
So, like one of the things I remember that they told us to do always in acting school is to like see what's said about the character, see what the character says about themselves, and
Right.
see what other people say about the character,
Yeah.
and to like sort of have some level of discernment about all of those things in different ways and for different reasons.
Yeah.
Never assuming any to be true.
Right.
I'm never, I guess, assuming any to be false either. But yeah, it reminds me of that, which is like it's not like he can report on what he's not seeing.
Yeah.
I feel that bad to have judged. I
But on
don't
the
think he's a very
outside
good
isn't.
friend right there. But
Yeah.
like that kind of means that Karthi episode. Okay. So this guy who gave you all this, like, gave you, like, fed you with his spirit for so long. Like,
So you think like Razia was like needing him in that moment?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just like projecting. It did say he looked like he wanted him to come over. I guess I took that to be true. Which maybe, I don't know.
I think he wanted him to come over. I don't know if it was like. It seemed like Latvia just like gay and gay and gay.
Yeah. My instinct is that he probably at the end of the day is okay because he seems like being okay is something he's good at. But then you never know. 2 seconds before someone, you know, how someone gets. He was like smiling, which feels in line with his philosophy or whatever.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I just think it's gonna be heavy for a while. Yeah, like, do you think, so we're coming to the end of book 14, do you think book 15 is going to get worse, or do you think it's going to be a kind of resolution?
There'll be plenty of everything. I think he has too much. I think Tolstoy has too much like love and optimism to like just go dark hard. I think it will be rough, but I think it won't only be rough.
Good night, everyone.
It does make you feel sad for all the people who lived through war, which is horrible. Like that's that's an entire nation of people who's reduced to hugging strangers and weeping, hugging and kissing strangers and weeping, and like that's the level of like what is going on with it. That is like natural and appropriate and needed and it's fucking intense.
Isn't it like most of humanity, or like human, what's the word I'm looking for? Most of like the timeline from which like humans have been on this planet, they've been at war.
Probably.
Yeah.
Can't be a definition of war, but yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think this is the first time that I've actually like placed myself in those circumstances.
It's really easy to not.
It's really easy to glaze over, like even like you watch like a Saving Private Ryan or something, and you're like, yeah, okay, here you go. And you're watching it as entertainment, and you're not actually like, I don't know, just paying attention to little things like, oh yeah, what the hell is it like to be in a trench? What is it like to have all that smoke around you? Things like that.
He's good at it. He's good at that.
Yeah,
Because he never sacrifices the human for the plot.
definitely.
Like he never sacrifices, and that may be why it's so long. Is because he's not moving the plot forward.
Yeah,
But like neither does life.
exactly.
Like what's written on your shirt and what I may be about to eat may not be is all like a part of this.
Yeah.
Even if it has nothing to do with anything. Whereas it feels like Saving Private Ryan or that whole family of much shorter things. Like you have to get you have to cut all the fat, and so you end up with like a really lean product.
Nice lean piece of meat. Yeah. And then in life, I don't know about you, but I always kind of feel like, okay, when's the plot going to start? Like, when's the game?
Mm.
What am I supposed to be doing right now, right? Like,
Mm.
anything else you want to say?
Just that I've never felt close to Moscow, and I like really care that it won't. It's from a few chapters ago, but still, like,
Yeah.
that's kind of is in general how I feel. Like, oh, okay, it's a good reminder that like really everyone. Oh my god, it's so much. Nothing. Yeah, ellipses.
Ellipses. I like that. Okay. Okay. Night.
Good night.